And it's at this point that I want to shift gears a little bit because I don't think you can truly tell the story of Rulon Gardner without taking a moment to properly introduce his Olympic opponent. So here enters Alexander Karelin. Honestly, I could have done an entire episode by itself on Karelin, but right now we'll just stick to the highlights. So his nicknames were the Russian Bear, Russian King Kong, Alexander the Great, and the Experiment. And I do not care what kind of fight it is. You could be in a water balloon fight. If the dude you're competing against is nicknamed the Experiment, you are about to be in for a hell of a fight, no matter what it is. You see, Alexander Karelin was born a 12-pound baby in the Soviet Union in 1967. So, first of all, just take a second to think about what I just said. And just to give you an idea of where he was born in Russia, the part of the world that he was born in has an average temperature of 8 degrees over the next 10 days. I looked it up. The next 10 days from right now, the average temperature where Alexander Karelin was born is 8 degrees. And the fucking sunrise doesn't happen until 9:30 in the morning, even though the sunset happens at 5 p.m. So think about the part of the world that this monster of a human is growing up in. And he was basically raised, as you can imagine, to be a world champion wrestler. He started training exclusively in wrestling at the age of 13. And at that point, he was already 5'10", 174 pounds. He started competing in the super heavyweight division at 16 years old. Now, for his training, I want to leave it to a writer named Josh Bryant, who I think explains it very well. So he says, quote, Karelin's daily training drills included hours of rowing and long runs through the taiga forest, often with a large log on his back. So think about if you guys have ever seen the movie Heavyweights and you remember when he's running through the forest and he's got the log on his back and he's like, devil log. And he throws it off. That's basically what we're talking about, except instead of Ben Stiller in a film, this is an actual Russian Olympic wrestler who's doing it for real to train for the Olympics. Now, keep in mind that the taiga forest, also where he's running with a log on his back, has an annual average temperature of 32 degrees. So essentially, it's a frozen forest, and it's also home to wolves, coyotes, black bears, brown bears, and fucking Siberian tigers. And this is where this man just heads out into the wilderness to train. Now, Josh Bryan also goes on to say that he favored the overhead press and also used standard 71-pound kettlebells for arm exercises as a daily weight routine. He is said to have bench pressed 440 pounds. And when asked about his toughest opponent, Karelin instantly replied, my refrigerator, referring to one of his drills for which he bear hugged his refrigerator and carried it up through 8 flights of stairs of his hometown 9-story apartment building. Alexander Karelin went undefeated for the first time from 1982 to 1987. Think about everything I just said. You know how in the Rocky movies there was the Russian guy and he was sort of like the pinnacle of an athlete. Essentially, this dude was compared to him through that fictional character from Rocky, Ivan Drago. This dude was compared to him his whole career. Now, he had his first loss after, first of all, being undefeated for the first 5 years of his career. He had his first loss, which he lost by a score of 1-0 at the USSR Championships in 1987. And he lost to the reigning Russian and European champion, Igor Rostoratsky. He defeated Rostoratsky, though, at the next year's USSR Championships while Karelin was recovering from a flu and a recent concussion. So the only dude that beat him after he was undefeated for 5 years, he got a rematch against the next year and beat him while he had a concussion and the flu. Think about what I'm telling you right now. This dude is, like I said, I could have made an entire episode about this guy. It's literally incredible. So after he avenges his loss by beating Rostoratsky, he then goes undefeated again and was undefeated for 3 more years, which brings us up to the start of the 2000 Sydney Olympics. Now, the day of his gold medal match against Roland Gardner at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, Alexander Karelin had been the Russian Olympic flag bearer 3 times. He had been the gold medalist in all 29 various world championships that he had competed in over the course of his career. He had already won 3 Olympic gold medals, so when he faced Roland Gardner, he was going for his 4th. Him and Roland Gardner had already faced each other once before in their careers, and if I remember this correctly, I forgot to write it down here in my notes, but I believe Karelin beat Gardner 6-0 or 6-1 in that match. And once again, at the time of his gold medal match against Roland Gardner at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, Alexander Karelin had a professional competitive wrestling record of 887 wins and 1 loss. Just for the record, to this day, Alexander Karelin is widely considered to be the greatest Greco-Roman wrestler of all time. And let's slow down for a second and really think about what that means. He is considered the greatest Greco-Roman wrestler of all time. And this is a sport that dates back to ancient Greece. And it was one of the original sports in the first modern Olympics back in 1896. This is one of the oldest sports in the world. And this dude that Roland Gardner is about to face in our story here in his Olympic gold medal match is considered to be the best guy ever at this sport.